Good evening, I'm Ces Orenia Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Sean Yao.
The big stories tonight. A fourth wave of fuel price hikes is coming, with diesel possibly hitting 150 pesos per liter next week. Concerns about supply are also not letting up, though government says there's enough until June.
Now, LPG prices up tomorrow while the peso is down again today. The domino effect of the Gulf War continues as the conflict enters its second month this weekend.
And the oil crisis brought about a 2-day transport strike this week, and it also revived community pantries meant to somehow help tide over already weary drivers.
I promise the public we will not take advantage on this fuel crisis. Baliwala yun sa akin income. In fact, sabi ko nga kung gusto ng gobyerno, pwede nga ng gobyerno bilhin yung petro sa akin
Patuloy pa rin ang ating paghahanap ng supply para naman mabawasan ang bigat ng epekto nitong nagkakagulo sa Middle East.
Business tycoon Ramon Ang has offered to sell Petron back to the government. The proposal comes as the Marcos administration tries to find a more targeted solution to fuel price and supply woes. News 5's Gerard de la Peña with tonight's big story.
Next week's fuel price adjustment will burn a wider hole in the pockets of diesel fuel users. Based on the weekend projection of an oil industry source of the Philippine Star, diesel is in again for a double-digit increase by up to 12 pesos per liter. This figure may push regular diesel above 140 pesos per liter and the premium kind beyond 150 pesos. Gasoline prices, meantime, seem to be easing, if you can even call it that, after 3 weeks of surge. Estimated increase is 3 pesos next week. These projections, however, remain subject to change pending the Energy Department's official announcement. But what is certain for now is the country's oil supply has received a boost after several shipments arrived this week. President Bongbong Marcos himself assured that this has extended Philippine supply until June 30 this year. But the government, he said, will not stop there.
Patuloy pa rin ang ating paghahanap ng supply, patuloy pa rin ang ating pagsuporta sa ating mga commuter para naman mabawasan ang bigat ng epekto nitong nagkakagulo sa Middle East.
The chief executive gave this assurance on the sidelines of the opening of the Ninoy Aquino International Airport Expressway westbound off-ramp project. Mr. Marcos said he and San Miguel Corporation Chairman Ramon Ang have also discussed fuel importation to support domestic supply. Ang's Petron Corporation currently operates the country's lone oil refinery.
In terms of crude oil supply, dahil pinapasok nila ang crude oil para i-refine dito, iba ang presyuhan kapag nagpasok tayo ng crudo mismo, ng diesel. Mas mahal yung pagpapasok ka ng refined na diesel na.
Ang said Petron will continue to cooperate with government's efforts to ease the public's burden amid rising fuel prices. He even expressed willingness to sell his oil company back to the state.
I promise the public we will not take advantage on this fuel crisis. Hindi kami kikita ng mahigit pa sa normal. And I'm willing to even lower the income. Baliwala yun sa akin income. In fact, sabi ko nga kung gusto ng gobyerno, pwede nga ng gobyerno bilhin yung petro sa akin kung tingin nila, mas magaling sila magpatakbo di ba? So, in short, you have my 100% cooperation na tutulungan yung mga kababayan natin.
Ang is willing to step aside and let the government take over in the name of national interest. If Petron does go back to government control, the state could use it as a buffer against high fuel prices and volatility in the international market. An edge in today's deregulated oil industry, as this will allow the Marcos administration to directly influence supply and prices. Just like what senators raised in a Senate hearing on Friday, March 27, particularly the rapid surge in fuel pricing since the Middle East conflict erupted.
Wala pang pagtaas ng mga binili, pero tinataas at sinisingil na sa consumers. Hindi naman po tayo insurer ng risk ng mga pribadong kumpanya. I just feel it's unfair kasi binili naman yon sa regular na presyo, hindi naman sa panahon ng krisis nung mataas na.
Oil firms that were present tried to explain the circumstances behind their prices.
This replacement costing is the standard practice for all commodity products around the world. We may imagine if we are the gold seller. We bought the gold last week at $100. Today the goal is 150. What will happen if I sell it at 100? If I sell at 100, which is the acquisition cost of last week, will I have the cash flow to buy the inventory in order to continue the business? I may not.
But senators expressed disbelief over this practice.
3 billion per day ang kinikita nila amidst the sufferings of our people, of the level of consumption month per month of diesel and gasoline. So did the DOE check this? How far did you monitor this?
Pero dahil nga deregulated, ang problema, hindi nakikita ng DOE kung magkano yung presyong ibinili ng oil company. Nakatago yan hindi talaga nila pinapakita yan.
As fuel pricing remains a mystery after the oil deregulation law, the Senate is reviewing a potential unbundling of the retail price of petroleum products. Senators are also urging the government to implement a windfall tax to address possible corporate profiteering. For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, We Are One News.
PUV drivers will be greeted by more expensive fuel in a few days after spending several hours in the streets protesting the same. More transport groups joined the second day of the sector's nationwide strike. They blasted what they deemed as the government's inefficiency to address the crisis, particularly overpriced diesel.
At sa Baguio City ay 141 na ang diesel. Ganun din sa Bicol. Kailangan natin hindi papansin solusyon, ang kailangan natin long term.
Baka habang bumibiyahe, matuto namang istat sa mga driver para madagdagan yung sahod.
Pag hindi ako huminto na wala naman mangyari, wala kikitain, ikakamatay ko na talaga to.
Yesterday, Transport Group Manibela called for the resignation of Energy Secretary Sharon Garin. Malacanang has since come to Garin's and the DOE's defense, saying they are doing their jobs to keep the fuel crisis at bay.
Hindi namin maramdaman yung sinasabi nilang trabaho. Sana maging active at sana isa kayo doon sa magpapabasura dito sa oil deregulation law. Dahil sinasabi nyo mismo nakatali ang inyong kamay sa provision ng batas. Kung nakatali ang inyong kamay sa provision ng batas, walang saysay para manatili pa yung batas. Kaya dapat tatanggalin yung batas.
Transport groups vowed to continue their protest actions until the government addresses their demands. Among these are the scrapping of the oil deregulation law, the removal of fuel excise taxes, and a temporary fare hike.
And joining us tonight to discuss this week's transport strike is Manibela Chairman Mar Valbuena. Good evening and welcome to the Big Story, Mar.
Good evening, ladies. Good evening sa lahat po ng nanonood po ngayon.
Ano bang assessment mo sa 2-day strike na ginawa ninyo?
Alam mo, kahit pa paano, Ma'am Ses, nakakakonsensya din kasi katulad namin, maraming naghihirap na mga tsuper, marami rin na naghihirap na mga kababayan nating mananakay. Kaya sabi nga natin, napagtagumpayan yung transport strike. Marami ang walang masakyan na ating mga kababayan, pero mabigat din po sa kalooban at sa dibdib po namin ito, Ma'am Ses.
Pero ang inyong hinaing ba ay nakarating sa gobyerno? Sa tingin mo ba ay lalambot ang kanilang posisyon ukol sa mga transport workers?
Po na, Ma'am Ses, sa pagdinig sa Senado, yung hinaing na yung mga hindi po nakakuha ng subsidy ay agad na ipinarating ng Senado sa pamamagitan ng mga secretary o undersecretary ng DSWD ng ng DOTR. At kahapon nga ay pinagsubmit bandang alas 4 po ata ito, pinagsubmit yung aming mga members, yung aming mga bawat chapters ng listahan ulit ng mga pangalan nitong mga tsuper.
Ano naman ang magagawa nitong kakapiranggot na 5,000 na iaabot sa inyo? Hanggang saan ba yan, ilang araw lang yan tatagal?
At least Mama Ses, magagamit kahit 3 araw, wag na lang maibulsa ng mga kawatan sa gobyerno. Yun po ang mahalaga dito. Kasi nai-release na ito, kung hindi ito mapapamigay, sayang. Kaysa naman sa iba lang mapunta. 3 araw yung maximum na pwede namin itong magamit dahil nga po sa paglobo ng presyo ng petrolyo na hindi po mapigilan ng ating gobyerno dahil walang pangil ang batas para dito sa mga malalaking oil companies. Walang pangil ang ating Pangulo sa mga ganid na mga negosyante ng petrolyo, pero po may pangil ang ating Pangulo sa pag-suspend ng piso na fare increase. So, napaka-unfair. Kung makikita natin, yung mga malalaking negosyante, bilyon-bilyon, 3 bilyon kada araw o mahigit pa ang kinikita. Samantalang kami, piso hanggang 2 piso, regulated. At anytime, pwedeng isuspend o pwedeng hindi maaprubahan. Kaya napakaswerte nitong mga negosyante na para bang ang batas talaga ay ginawa lamang para sa kanila.
Kuya Mar, matanong ko lang, no, kahapon kasi nandito si Chairman Vigor Mendoza ng LTFRB. Ang sabi niya sa amin, in constant dialogue naman daw siya with you guys. Pero ang gusto kong malaman is, kung nagpasa na ba kayo ng petition for a fair hike, effective lang, no, sa pagsisimula nitong krisis sa Iran?
Actually, wala pa po. Wala pa kahit sino sa amin ang nakapag-file nitong petition dahil nga tuloy-tuloy po yung pagsirit. Hindi namin alam kung saan dito sisimulan. Baka mas maganda kung sila na po ang makaisip nito dahil meron pong memorandum circular noong 2017 or 2016 kung hindi ako nagkakamali na kapag sumirit yung produktong petrolyo ay automatic din na magtataas yung pamasahe na hindi naman ginagamit ito ng LTFRB. Yun ang gusto ko ring ibalik po sa kaya Chairman Vigor Mendoza na ginagamit po ba nila ito sa panahon ng krisis. Meron pong memorandum circular niyan na panahon pa ng mga nakaraang administrasyon at sigurado po ako na effective pa rin po yan hanggang sa ngayon.
Kasi ang pinoprotektahan dito, at sinabi na nga rin ni Chairman, na malaki ang inflationary impact kasi pag nagtaas ang pamasahe. Kaya kumbaga, kayo ang, isinasakripisyo.
Hindi, maling-mali po yun, Ma'am Ces. Kami lang ang itinuturo para itong mga oil companies ay maligtas dito sa sinasabi na maligtas doon sa pagtuturo kung sino talaga ang may kasalanan kung bakit nagtataas yung inflation. Kung hindi po magtataas ng presyo ng petrolyo, hihirit po ba kami ng taas pasahe? Hindi ho ba ang ugat nitong inflation ay yung mataas na presyo ng petrolyo? Kagaya ngayon, Ma'am Ces, ladies, kung makikita natin, hindi nagtaas ng pamasahe. Sinuspend yung piso na fare increase. Pero nagtaasan na yung mga pangunahing bilihin, ang bigas, kung di ako nagkakamali, hindi po bababa sa 2 piso kada kilo ang itinaas. At yung iba pang mga basic goods ang tumaas na. So dapat hindi sa amin ibintang. Sa amin po binibintang, imbis na dito sa mga ganid na gusto lamang ay malalaking tubo, itong mga oil companies, di po ba? Isipin nyo, may stock pa, yung inventaryo nila ang ginagamit sa ngayon. Hanggang sa ngayon, Ma'am Ces, ay ito pa rin, Ma'am Sean, ito pa rin yung ginagamit na binibenta sa merkado. Stock pa nila ito bago pa magkaroon ng digmaan sa gitnang silangan. Pero nagtaas na sila at ang pinapaliwanag kahapon, kaya sila nagtaas dahil nabuking sila para doon sa ipapatong ito, doon sa susunod na bibilihin nila. So yung pagbili nila ng diesel na mataas, isiningil na kaagad sa amin 3 weeks ago. Next week pa lang, inamin nila na next week pa lang po darating yung supply na nagsimula po nitong digmaan. So yung ginagamit natin ngayon, hanggang sa susunod na Martes siguro, stock pa po nila, inventaryo pa po nila ito. So dinadaya tayo, pinagsasamantalahan tayo, walang pangilang batas, ginigipit kami, Kami ang itinuturo na may kasalanan dito sa inflation. Now, hindi pa naman pinatutupad yung fare increase, pero hindi nila masilip. Walang pangil ang Pangulo. Sa maliliit lang sila may pangil, pero sa malalaking negosyante, wala.
Pero Mar, bukod sa pagsa-strike ninyo, no, ano ba ang iba pang paraan? At paano ba nakakatawid ang mga miyembro ninyo sa araw-araw na pamumuhay? Ano ang tulong na ibibigay ba ng organisasyon o mga ibang tao man na tumutulong sa inyo?
Alam nyo, Ma'am Ses, sa humigit kumulang 100,000 miyembro ng Manibela. Kung totoo lang, sa loob ng 3 linggo, pang-4 na linggo na po ito, rinding-rindi na kami sa hinaing, sumbong ng ating mga tsuper dahil nga wala naman nagagawang solusyon ng ating gobyerno. Pinirmahan yung pag-suspend nitong excise tax pero laban bawi pa rin kung kailan po itong maipatutupad at kung maipatupad man ito, sigurado po sa pangatlong linggo, pang-4 na linggo pa ng Abril. Hintayin pa natin na ma-publish ito sa UPLO at kapag na-publish ito, ano ba ang uunahin ng Pangulo? Tignan yung mga nagsasamantala kung may pangil ba yung pag-suspend ang pagbibigay ng emergency power sa Pangulo. Kaakibat ba bukod sa pag-suspend ng excise tax? Kaakibat ba nito yung price ceiling na malimitahan? Kasi nabasa ko po doon sa oil deregulation law, in time of crisis, pwede po na magmando ang ating Pangulo ng ceiling o price cap dito po sa mga produktong petrolyo na number 1 po na dapat niya itong gawin. Dapat nga ngayon na sana. Bago pa tayo mapagsamantalahan, patuloy na mapagsamantalahan ng mga oil companies po na ito.
So Mark, kahit nagdeklara na ang Pangulo din ng National State of Energy Emergency, hindi kayo nakakampante, wala pa rin assurance ba yun? Parang kulang pa rin ang messaging ng gobyerno kung ano ba talaga yung magiging plano, contingency plans sa kabila ng krisis na ito?
Ma'am Pauline, mensahe pa lang yung pinaparating. Pirma pa lang yung nakakarating at nakikita natin. Wala pa yung aktual na pag-suspend. Hindi pa natin ito nararamdaman at hindi pa natin ito mararamdaman sa mga susunod na araw. Bibilang pa tayo ng linggo kung ipatutupad ba talaga nila ito. So mag-aantay pa tayo, mag-aabang pa tayo kung hanggang kailan nila tayo gugutumin.
Alright, nakakalungkot naman ikaw kausap. O sige, maraming salamat at wala na rin tayong ibang iaabot sa inyo. Mar Valbuena, Chairman of Transport Group Manibela.
And just a few days before the long Holy Week break, bus companies are facing a dilemma. They have to cut trips due to high diesel prices. Affected destinations include Batangas, Pangasinan, and Nueva Ecija. The number of trips bound for Bicol is the same, but bus firms want to make sure they have enough passengers to maximize trips. As needed, the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, has approved 1,300 special permits for additional provincial buses.
Pero nakausap naman natin yung mga kaibigan natin sa provincial bus operators, tinitiyak nila na babiyahe pa rin naman sila. Yun nga lang, ang mas gusto nila, bago sila biyahe, titiyakin nilang fully book na sila upang sa ganun, hindi naman masayang yung biyahe nila.
Meanwhile, at Tinaiya, more expensive fares kick in. One family shared their experience of buying one-way tickets to Palawan in January this year for 2,000 pesos each. But upon checking again, the flight from Palawan to Manila now costs 6,000 to 8,000 pesos. The Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines is not talking about prices. What CAP can ensure for now is that there will be enough flights and no cancellations for the Holy Week exodus. There's also no shortage of jet fuel, according to airlines.
Ang schedule nila is by May pa. So wala ko nakikita this week or next week na magiging problema. This year, we're expecting around 7 to 10%, about 6.5 million yung mga pasahero inaantay nating dumagsa dyan sa mga paliparan. Kasi minsan, alam mo, ang mga pasahero yung last minute pumupunta kaya may mga pasok pa kasi. We expect bukas hanggang Sunday yan, tuloy-tuloy na yan.
You're still watching the big story on One News. And we hear that slogan again. Give whatever you can, take only what you need. The community pantry is back, and this time for already weary PUV drivers. We speak to organizer Patreng Non next. Stay tuned.
You're watching the big story here on One News. Public transport drivers in provinces also joined the nationwide transport strike that ended today. In Cebu City, drivers danced as they slammed unabated fuel price hikes. Other motorists honked their horns in support of the protest. In Davao City, transport groups called for a fare increase. They also appealed to President Bongbong Marcos to scrap fuel taxes and junk the oil deregulation law. And remember the community pantries from the pandemic? Well, they're back, and this time for drivers and riders feeling the squeeze from oil price increases. At ang pasimuno ulit ay si Ana Patricia Non, Community Pantry Organizer. Magandang gabi sa iyo, Patreng. Welcome to the big story.
Good evening, ladies, Ses, Sean at Pauline. Salamat sa pag-interview. Long time no see.
Oo nga, Patreng.
Sorry.
So, nagsimula na ba o saan pupunta ang ating mga tsuper at ibang kababayan sa community pantry na yan?
Actually, galing ako doon kanina. Nag-start na siya, yung area namin dito sa Maginhawa, kung saan yung original na pwesto ng community pantry. So, ang goal naming mga pantry organizers, kung ano yung pinakamalapit na terminal sa atin, or kaya yung mga commuters, pwede mag-abot ng kung ano yung kakayahan ng mga tao. Delata, pagkain, sandwich, ulam, alam mo. Parang yun yung goal namin. So, sa ngayon, merong Pasig, Maginhawa, Baguio City, merong Mindoro, magkakaroon sa Laguna, merong Valenzuela. So, meron sa Kalayaan din. So, tuloy-tuloy siya. Tapos yung ano rin namin, call din namin, walang ownership yung pantry. Never na kailangan magpaalam sa akin. And ako mismo, hindi ko kino-consider na ako yung pasimuno or leader kasi walang hierarchy sa pantry. Parang pantay-pantay yung nag-organize and even yung mga pumitila.
Kamusta naman yung response?
Response ng mga tao. Actually, very active yung mga tao na may nag-message sa akin, actually family friend, na sakto lang, hindi ko naman siya masyadong ka-close. Sabi niya, nawalan ako ng work, pero gusto ko mag-donate sa drivers natin. Sabi ko, hindi ako nanghihingi ng monetary donations, pero kung gusto mo, sakto mamamalengke ako, isasabay kita. Tapos parang ang messaging ng mga tao, even my office mates, ang sabi nila, parang nakakadurog ng puso. As in, ganun yung sabi na, pag napapanood yung interview ng mga drivers, hindi ko kaya yung situation nila. Naaawa ako. Tapos pila rin ng ayuda. Parang hindi ko matanggap na yung mga drivers kaya nilang mag-drive, maghanap buhay. Tapos ito na naman tayo sa ayuda. Okay, may mabibigay sa kanila pero katulad ng sabi sa interview kanina, hanggang 3 days lang. Pero alam mo yon, willing sila mamasada pero lugi sila. So parang doon pumapasok yung pantry talaga ever since na kaya naming mag-ask ng accountability at the same time kaya gumawa ng action for the community na kayang pagsabayin yon.
Alam mo, Patreng, dami nga nagsasabi, buti pa kayo, no, yung mga community pantry organizers, agad rumisponde. I just wanna ask, no, nung nakita ko kasi sa social media, nung nire-open mo yung dyan sa Maginhawa, pero yung other community pantries, like you mentioned, Baguio, Laguna, and other places, ano yun, sari-sarili na lang din ba silang nag-open? Or sila din ba yung nag-open ng pantry noong time ng COVID?
Mm. May GC kami actually na hundreds yung members. So, nagko-coordinate kami doon, nag-usap kami lagi, ganyan. Actually, ngayon lang siya nagbalik sa form ng pantry, pero tuloy-tuloy yung relief ops, parang emergency response pagka may sunog, pag bagyo season, tuloy-tuloy yung kitchens. So, itong mga pantry organizers na sa Pasig, sila na yung original. Yung sa Baguio, sila rin yung, alam ko, nag-pantry rin sila dati. So, yung iba, original, yung iba ngayon lang. Tapos, hindi ko naman kino-coordinate lahat. Parang mas, walang one size fits all yung pantry. So, siya, depende sa community, depende din talaga sa kakayahan. So, kami, parang, yung iba matagal lang kakilala, yung iba ngayon pa lang namin na-add sa GC, ganun.
Yung mga gustong sumali dito sa GC, in case interesado sila pero medyo lost sila sa kung paano ba ito i-start, no? Kasi ang dami rin nagsasabi, including our business tycoons, parang this could be worse than COVID eh. Diba? At saka yung COVID, parang lahat tayo naapektuhan, pero ito kasi parang may frontline na naapektuhan, which is yung mga tsuper nga. Paano sumali sa inyo kung gusto?
Actually, hindi nga kailangan sumali sa amin to community pantry. Maglabas lang ng anything nang meron tayo. O kaya kung magko-commute ka, magdala ka ng extrang pagkain sa bahay nyo, bigay nyo sa driver. Ang unang naalala ko talaga doon, merong isang jeepney driver na in-interview na hindi na daw siya makakain ng lunch kasi kulang yung kinikita niya. So, siniskip niya yung pagkain. Tapos imagine kung may dala kang pagkain para sa driver, less na gastos niya that day, mapupunta pa para sa family niya. So, yun yung idea namin na paano ba makatulong. And sa totoo, yung mga pantry organizers, madaming anak ng drivers. Tapos madami kami community pantry organizer na mismo drivers natin, lalo na yung sa Katipunan, dito sa UP Katipunan, UP Ikot, mga community pantry organizers din sila nung pandemic.
So sila noon, sila ang nagbigay, kumbaga, kung ano ba yung kaya nila. Tapos ngayon, na sila na ang nangangailangan.
Oo. Tapos yung experience ko kanina sa Maginhawa. Galing ako trabaho, dumiretso ako sa pantry. Sabi nung mga driver, madami pong nakakuhang mga rider. Sabi ko, buti alam nila yung pantry, ganyan. Sabi ng mga tricycle, hindi po, pinapara po namin sila para makakuha din sila kasi kami nakakuha na. So may ganong klase ng awareness among them na sila rin, i-share din natin sa kanila.
So far, Patreng, ano ba yung mga items na mabilis maubos, ano? Siyempre, yung mga kapatid nating mga tsuper, may mga pangangailangan din yan, ano? So, gaya ng sinabi din ni Sean, para dun sa mga gustong magbigay or magtayo din ng sariling community pantry, ano ba yung mga items na dapat nandyan?
Gusto ko yung Pawi para targeted.
Yes.
Actually, hindi na kami choosy. Pero kung ako kasi, ang personal na opinion, maski pagkain, na tinapay, kanin, ganyan. Tapos kung gulay, ito yung lagi kong sinasabi, maganda yung main ingredient. Kunyari, sayote, ampalaya, upo, kangkong. Kasi ulam na siya eh. So yung mga recados like bawang sibuyas, kamatis, pa-isa-isa lang naman yung bili niyan. So kung may bibili na gulay, yung pangbusog na pangulam na ng family, yung suggestion. Pero tokwa, okay siya, 5 pesos lang isang block ng tokwa. So mga ganun, anything naman ay tatanggapin, anything naman ay mabilis maubos dahil daanan talaga siya. Pero ang suggestion ko talaga, kung sino yung pinakamalapit na driver, pinakamalapit na terminal, focus tayo doon, ganun.
At nakakalungkot talaga, Patreng, din, because it's been 6 years already since COVID, since nagtayo tayo ng mga ganitong community pantry, and now we find ourselves in this situation again. Pero what can you say about the government's response so far?
Oo nga nung magbubukas ako ng pantry, so 2 days ago, naisip ko parang, magbubukas uli ng pantry, ganyan. Tapos parang, ganito na yung nangyari dati, tapos ngayon ulit, ganyan. Tapos malungkot siya actually. Malungkot siya kasi yung nag-start ako ng pantry, ang una kong initiative ng pandemic ay para sa drivers, jeepney drivers, tricycle drivers, kasi tigil pasada, sila rin yung unang naapektuhan. Tapos after 5 years, ito ulit tayo. Magpa-pantry ulit, ganyan. Tapos yung pantry, okay, message of hope siya, kindness, sa problema ng pandemic. Pero yung experience ngayon, merong malungkot na nangyayari. May mga nagugutom, may mga naapektuhan. And ako bilang simpleng citizen na middle class din, ano ba yung best na magagawa ko? Ganun. So ganun lang din dati. Pero tapos ngayong nabukas uli yung pantry, parang, ay, ito na naman tayo, tumanda na ako, wala na ako sa youth sector, tapos ito uli yung gagawin nating best effort for the community. Malungkot siya, pero ang reassuring ay, hindi na ako mag-isa, kasi nung sinabi ko na, ay, mag-pantry tayo bukas, meron na akong mga kasama sa pantry or pantry na, ay sama ako at tulungan kita magbuhat. Yung mga nanay sa KNL, sabi, nandito lang kami, message mo lang kami pag may gagawin pa tayo. Tapos yung sa government response, actually ano siya, yung pantry, nag-start siya nang hindi ka mapakali, hindi mo alam na ano bang pwede kong gawin, ano ba yung pwede kong i-express, ganyan. Tapos medyo, for me personally, disappointing siya kasi sila yung nasa power. Tapos lahat naman tayo creative. Sila yung may budget, ganyan. Tapos hindi ba natin kayang aralin yung taxes natin? Hindi ba natin kayang isuspend yung taxes? Hindi ba natin kayang magkaroon ng mga libreng sakay? Hindi ba natin kaya i-hire muna yung mga jeepney drivers na i-hire tong mga kahit, alam mo yun, kahit government employees na ito, kayo na magsaservice muna, tas may sure kayong kita, ganyan. Mga ganong idea man lang. Tapos, ang malungkot kasi pag hindi ko makita yung mga drivers natin, titigil sila ng pasada kasi lugi naman sila. Tapos yung may-ari naman ng mga sasakyan na middle class, hindi rin makabiyahe. Gusto nila public transport kasi mahal din yung gas. Pero walang pumapasada. So ano mangyayari sa ekonomiya natin sa Pilipinas, 'di ba? Parang malulumpo tayo dahil sa ganitong sitwasyon. Okay lang sa atin na may frontliners na maapektuhan. Na totoo naman talaga pag nagtaas yung presyo ng pamasahe, magtataas lahat. Pero pahihirapan lang din natin yung mga drivers na to, na sila rin yung nahirapan nung una, gano'n. So, gano'n yung experience ngayon. Tapos yung sa ayuda, okay, may ayuda, pero sinasabi ng mga drivers, kaya namin mamasada, kaya namin magtrabaho, ilang years na namin to ginagawa. Tapos yung ayuda, 3 days lang kami magsusurvive. Tulungan niyo naman kami long term. So parang alam mo yun, parang konting creativity naman, konting effort naman from you guys. Paggalawin niyo naman yung baso para sa mga taong to. So yun yung frustrating. And kaya kami nagko-community pantry kasi kaya namin ibigay yung best namin. Kaya namin mag-effort kahit maliliit yung mga sahod namin, delayed yung sahod namin, may best kaming pwedeng gawin. Kayo, ano yung best na pwede nyong gawin para sa mga taong to? Parang ganun yung pakiramdam ngayon.
Pero kahit na yung ginagawa mong yan ay isang, siguro matutusok, it'll prick their conscience. Ewan ko lang, kung meron pa silang konsyensya, di ba? So, yung ginagawa mo isang pagtusok sa kanila. So, maraming salamat. At, Patreng, yung mga kung hindi pagkain, pwede rin bang ibang items?
Oo, ano pa ba? Yung iba kasi, yung iba actually, kunyari, may areas dito na may mga nasunugan. So parang yung pantry, nag-start sila na, okay, dito magdala tayo ng damit. Ang best talagang donation para malaman natin ay makipag-usap tayo sa mga drivers. Malay natin, ay, dito po sa Baguio, madami kaming gulay or dito sa area namin, madami kaming gulay, mas kailangan namin bigas. Para maganda rin makipagkwentuhan, integrate sa mga tao para malaman natin ano yung pwedeng tulong na mabibigay natin sa kanila.
Sige, hanapin na lang pinakamalapit na pantry sa lugar mo. Tapos doon ka...
Or mag-start ng sariling community pantry sa areas nila.
Alright, thank you so much for the inspiration, kahit na frustrating. More power. Patreng
Salamat.
nun, Community Pantry Organizer.
And we are pausing for another breather, but right after that, liquefied petroleum gas or LPG is more expensive starting tomorrow. We tell you by how much when we return. Keep it here.
The big story is back with more headlines, starting with a looming hike in the prices of liquefied petroleum gas. Staggered increases will be implemented in the prices of LPG, with the first hike set on Saturday, March 28. Starting tomorrow, LPG will sell for about 1,250 pesos. LPG Marketers Association President Arnel T. says an additional increase is scheduled on April 1, with prices projected to reach up to 1,500 pesos per 11-kilogram tank. In another development,
The Philippine peso hit another all-time low, settling this Friday at 60.55 to the dollar. It surpasses the record set just last Monday when the peso weakened to 60.30 to the greenback. The local currency reached a record intraday worst of 60.57. Meantime, the PSEI ended the week in the red, down nearly 0.2% in today's session. The broader all shares index also went little changed with all sectoral gauges mostly in the red.
And here's another effect of the global oil crisis. President Marcos says the country's hosting of the 2026 ASEAN Summit will proceed as planned on May 7 and 8, but with a scaled-down program. He added that the summit will last about a day and a half and will be, quote, very bare bones. Key issues to be discussed include petroleum supply, food prices, and the welfare of migrant workers across the region. Still on Malacanang, it sees no need to impose an energy lockdown. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro says government is actively finding alternative fuel supplies to prevent a worst-case scenario. Current conditions, she says, do not warrant an energy lockdown.
Dasal tayo na magkaroon na ng agreement sila at magkaroon ng pagkakasundo. Kapag hindi po kasi agad nagkasundo at hindi natapos itong sigalot sa Middle East, malaki po talaga itong magiging epekto. Ito po talaga yung pinaghahandaan ng Pangulo, pinaghahandaan ng administrasyon. Kaya ayaw po nating mapunta doon sa worst case scenario. Naghahanap po talaga tayo ng sources para po yung supply ng petrolyo ay hindi mahinto.
in other news, the world is about to give 1 hour to the planet tomorrow. Now on its 20th year, Earth Hour centers on the theme of, quote, switch on habits for the Earth. The annual event returns with an in-person program tomorrow in Pasig City with sports official Mikey Cojuangco Jaworski serving as ambassador. Now, what lessons can be drawn from Earth Hour as we grapple with the global oil crisis threatening power supply? We talked to attorney Angela Consuelo Ibay. She's the National Director for Earth Hour. Attorney, welcome to The Big Story.
Yes, good evening, Seth, Pauline, and Sean. Thank you for inviting us to your program.
So the significance of Earth Hour, would you say, is now more than ever even more important?
Yes, I think it's even more important now and relevant. We've been holding Earth Hour for this our 20th celebration, and we can see that throughout the years, while we keep on telling people that energy resiliency is important for all of us, it seems that we've not yet gone to that point that we're resilient from the shocks, that especially from external forces. So I think Earth Hour provides us with a sense that we can still have the power within our hands, for the demand that we put pressure on in terms of energy in our system.
So, well, it's we can say a golden opportunity perhaps to communicate really the need to be more conscious on our usage of energy.
Definitely, Seth. I mean, we've always said for Earth Hour that as we're saying that let's switch on good habits for the earth. Part of that good habits is really looking at our energy consumption and our energy use. Where are the resources that we take for in terms of energy? And it's not just energy. We'd like to think that we use Earth R also for other environmental challenges that we face. In terms of, for example, how do we use water and conserve water? How do we also look at waste and the consumption of waste and how we produce it? So Earth R is really encompassing not just the electricity, because it's very clear that the 1 ounce switch off is about electricity, but we'd like to say that Earth R really is something that we've used as a platform to get people aware about environmental challenges and the solutions that they can do.
But what is tragic about what's happening now is the damage to the environment of this war that's raging in the Middle East.
Well, definitely. I mean, this war that we're all, very far from us, but we feel the effects very keenly. And it's not just us in here, and of course in the metropolis, but even I would say even down to our, mga kababayans all the way to the coastal communities, they are going to feel the brunt. So I think now is that we are really getting people to not just to raise the awareness, but I think now is that we let us make this a consistent call also for people to really look at how they use our resources so that we can make our planet sustainable for years to come amidst this crisis that we're now facing.
All right, Attorney Ibay, I believe it's your 20th anniversary, 20th year celebrating Earth Hour, and what timing, no, in the middle of this. Now, what would you like to tell people in today's current situation na parang paano ba tayo talaga magkaka-conserve in our own ways? Because, I mean, government will say, yes, conserve in your own ways, but it's a little vague and broad.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there are a lot of ways to actually do it. And first of all, thank you for greeting us. This is our 20th global celebration of Earth Hour. And part and parcel of what we've been telling people, that even simple acts of, not just like switching off the lights, but switching off with the conscious understanding that this actually helps our planet in a very positive way. So that includes, if you don't need to use electricity or close your lights when you leave the room, use energy efficient appliances. This goes from aircon to even your gadgets. And also in terms of the usage also on a day-to-day basis. We're going into the summer months, so we always tell people conserve the use of water. Rethink also how you use it, and maybe reuse and reduce, recycle. That's the classic way, and which can be done in our own households. We also tell people to also check for your leaks as well as your pipes at home, because you never know, you're actually draining yourself from not just water but also the amount of money that comes out from your pocket for paying our bills. So there are many ways by which people can conserve, and there are tips that we have on our website, and also I'm sure there are other also in organizations that have those. But I think the important thing is we should be doing this on a consistent basis, on a daily basis. That's why we're telling people, let's make this a habit, and a habit that will not be removed for years to come.
But what are your thoughts, Attorney, as well, on the possibility of a crisis involving the lack of supply when it comes to power? I mean, how real is that threat given the situation that we are in right now?
Well, if you read the reports given by government, the threat is quite real. But we've been always promoting our government, even years before, that the energy transition that we should be doing should have been done years ago. So definitely, I mean, we've been promoting renewable energy, which we as the Philippines is very much blessed with. We should have been doing all the infrastructure that's needed for it, and also developing it to its full potential. Of course, the government will always say that we have, in fact, they have a target of 35% share of renewable in the power mix by 2030, going up to around 50% by 2040. But that should have been done years ago. And we feel that we do have already the infrastructure ready. That I think we just need to really further, the government really needs to further push for this development of renewable energy. And that will, in fact, cushion, if not, protect us from further external shocks in the price of fossil fuel, especially coal, oil, and gas.
While this hour is largely, you could say, symbolic in a way, how much less greenhouse gas emissions are, by how much is the reduction of this crucial 1 hour period?
Well, if we look at just last year, the report that DOE provided us, the load drop, they call it the load drop, that 1 hour that we asked people to switch off their lights. The load drop was equivalent to 161 megawatts of power, electricity. So that's equivalent to like a medium-sized power plant. So that was just for 1 hour. And that was only when we asked people to just switch off their non-essential lights and appliances. So you can just imagine, no, if we do conservation on a very regular basis, how much can be saved, and the demand and the pressure on our grid will be lessened. And then if you couple that with renewable energy, then I think that will be a powerful formula for the government should be looking into and doing in years to come.
Yeah, I wish there was more of a communication campaign by the government. For instance, like what you said, a simple act of one multiplied by 1 million is already very significant.
Yeah, I think well, the government, in fairness to them, they have had energy efficiency conservation campaigns. In fact, they coined the fact that EC, which is energy conservation, easy way of life. That's one of their campaigns previously in previous years. But it hasn't also been consistent. And if in fact you look at the law was only passed in 2019. But they've been doing the campaign since the early 80s. So it really is something that has not been a priority for government. And I think now people are also seeing that really we should be doing this. So I hope it really gains traction. And with Earth Hour, we've been trying to use this as a platform to also help government gain that traction as well. And now that we're here, we hope it's helping.
Actually, now we're learning more because we're being forced to do it because of the price. The issue of the price and supply.
Yeah, it's really a mindset and it's really behavioral change. And we know and I think you also know that behavioral change takes a while. Unfortunately, sometimes it takes a crisis like now for us to really think what are we doing, how we can move forward in a positive way.
So anything specific happening on Saturday apart from, of course, this call to shut off between 8:30 and 9:30 p.m. tomorrow, March 28th? Are you having like other events or any initiatives?
So since it's our 20th celebration, we do have what we call underground switch-off event with our host city in Pasig City at the Arcovia grounds, and we know that there are several local governments and also establishments who are still celebrating Earth Hour, and we're very grateful for their support as well as the continued support of the media like you for letting us reach many more people about Earth Hour. We do have that happening tomorrow, and we also have a youth fair that will start at 4:00, and the main program starts at 7. But also, tomorrow we start what we call an Earth Hour virtual run. So people can actually go to Pinoy Fitness app, which is our partner. And if they want to join the virtual run, it starts on tomorrow, going until April 30. So if you want to get healthy as well, while also saving our planet, that's one way to do it also.
All right. We thank you so much. That was Attorney Angela Consuelo Ibay of Worldwide Fund for Nature Philippines.
And we now end the week by placing the spotlight on Forgotten Island, a new animated film inspired by Filipino folklore. And it stars our very own Liza Soberano and Grammy winner Her. More from News 5's MJ Marfori.
jeepney, sari manok, manananggal, and more than that, Filipinos are truly at the center of a story that highlights friendship, community, and family. The time has come, mga kapatid. Here comes the first ever Filipino folklore-inspired animated movie backed by Hollywood giants DreamWorks and Universal Pictures, the same studios behind hits like Shrek and How to Train Your Dragon. The stars, of course, News 5 got to chat with them. Our very own Liza Soberano as Raisa, and Grammy Award-winning Filipina Her as Jo. An unbreakable bond between two friends is put to the test in Forgotten Island as these high school graduates face separate paths in life. But in the middle of it all, they are suddenly transported to the mythical island of Nakali, a world filled with Filipino mythical creatures. And Lea Salonga lends her voice to the Manananggal.
That was pretty insane. I mean, we had separate first sessions with Joel and Januel, which was pretty amazing and so much fun. And I feel like at that time, I was so excited about the world, but I didn't fully know what I was getting into. And I think that was so exciting. But obviously, like, knowing how much passion and love was going into this project, and, you know, Joel and Januel having this connection to Filipino culture and being so adamant about telling it accurately and incorporating all these things that we grew up on, like, that was so exciting for me. And then when we finally got to record together, it just made it even more fun and playful, and we got to discover the characters in a new way. And yeah, I love working with Les. It was so special, and you know, we were speaking a little Tagalog.
Because I was just so focused on, you know, having fun, being in the moment, and just, you know, performing the best that I could. This project has been sitting with them for quite a while. That's when it really dawned onto me that, like, oh my gosh, this is like a moment. This is really a special moment for not only the people making it, but like for the culture.
From the creators of Puss in Boots, Academy Award nominees Joel Crawford and Januel Mercado, and yes, Filipinos are truly behind this. And at its core, the film aims to showcase Filipino values to the world.
It's not only a movie that, like we say, celebrates Filipino culture, but it's a movie that is being about friendship and connection. This is about stopping to be in the moment, to acknowledge who is with you and the impact they have on you.
Joining the cast are Dolly De Leon, Jokoy, Dave Franco, Jenny Slate, and many more. Catch it in cinemas worldwide this September 23 to be exact, in the Philippines. MJ Marfori, we are One News.
All right, and that's all the time we have for tonight and for this week. Thank you so much for watching The Big Story.
We are back here on Monday at 8 o'clock p.m. We'll see you then.
Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time. Have a good night and a good weekend.